With the legacy lasting almost a century, the horror film has both shocked audiences and entertained them, keeping them swarming back for more. The first studio to truly turn the horror film into a viable franchise was Universal Studios. First founded in 1908 by German-Jewish immigrant Carl Laemmle, the studio's first foray into the genre, if not its prototype, was 1923's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Starring the man of a thousand faces, Lon Chaney, Hunchback became an international hit, causing the studio to look for an easy follow-up. Brought to Universal's attention by Chaney himself was Gaston Leroux's Phantom of the Opera. Released in 1925, the film version was a tremendous sensation, due in no small part to Chaney's masterful makeup design, which reportedly caused him great physical pain, and his horrific performance. Hunchback and Phantom would turn out to be the building blocks for what was yet to come. After the advent of sound in 1927, Universal sought to produce a film version of Bram Stoker's Dracula, starring Lon Chaney Sr., but was unfortunately unable to do so, with Chaney's untimely and tragic death in 1930. Enter Hungarian stage actor Bela Lugosi. Lugosi had played the role several times on stage and was a natural choice for the role. Dracula was released in February of 1931 and was directed by frequent Chaney collaborator Todd Browning. It became the first supernatural horror film of the sound era. Later, in 1931, lumbered director James Whale's Frankenstein. The film propelled hard-working English actor Boris Karloff into stardom and made him the go-to ghoul in such horror classics as The Mummy and The Black Cat. It would go on to spawn several popular sequels, including Bride of Frankenstein in 1935 and the 1933 production of Whale's own The Invisible Man, starring Claude Rains in his feature film debut. Not to be outdone in the realm of large-scale monster movies, RKO released its mammoth King Kong in 1933, which would go on to spawn its own genre of giant monster movies and films featuring stop-motion animation. After a cycle of horror films had dwindled in the mid-1930s, Universal would resurrect many of its big-name monsters in the 1940s. The first original monster to become a hit was the Wolfman, as played by Lon Chaney Jr. in the 1941 film. The film was such a success that it prompted Universal to do a series of crossover films such as Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman and House of Frankenstein, which not only ported over those two icons of horror, but threw Dracula into the mix. As the 1950s dawned, audiences were more interested in atomic age terror set in the present rather than the gothic castles of Transylvania. And most genre films from that era featured giant insects or aliens as the result of science gone wrong. Universal's last great creation from that era came in 1954's Creature from the Black Lagoon. One of the first notable films to make use of underwater 3D photography, Creature spawned two more sequels and became the last icon of Universal Studios' golden age. With the blockbuster remake of The Mummy in 1999, as well as its sequels and spin-offs, as well as a remake of The Wolfman scheduled for February of 2010, Universal continually proves you can't keep a good monster dead.